Welcome back, folks. This one was not really planned, but when I saw the headline, I couldn't resist because it pairs two things that I greatly love to study together: history and the way it is told. In this instance, comic books. The New York Post, and they're not one of the more egregious, we hate everything that's not what the DNC demands you love papers. They're not the New York Times or the Washington Post, but they're very definitely not conservative. And in this latest article, they are complaining about Disney transforming a war hero into a villain. Now, for those who've not watched the series, I will give you a very clear warning: spoilers ahead for Falcon and Winter Soldier. I will also tell you I know these spoilers because I've read the comic books they're based on. And while they're not perfect, even though this is Marvel making the series, just posting it on Disney Plus, they're much closer than a lot of comic book adaptations I've seen in the past. In Falcon and Winter Soldier, this is post Endgame, really post Far From Home Spider-Man. This is Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes basically trying to find a place in the world when they're not needed as Avengers. Sam is still very much the counselor that he was when we met him in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Bucky is still kind of struggling through being freed from the mind control that he was under through Hydra for all those years. And we see them teaming up reluctantly at first, and then accepting that they kind of need each other in their lives. We know at the end of Endgame, Cap gave Sam the shield. There are little things that kind of make me believe some of the theories that Bucky knew Steve wasn't coming back. Possibly he offered Bucky the chance to go back, but Bucky said, no, I would not be good. I wouldn't be able to just sit and let things happen. There's a theory that it wasn't the main MCU timeline that Steve lived his life in. I won't go into that. But ultimately, Sam gets the shield. At the very beginning of the series, we see Sam give the shield to a museum, ostensibly, but ultimately back to the government. It was never the government's shield to begin with. It was Stark's. And Howard and Tony now being gone, Sam should have kept it or given it to Pepper. But very quickly after that happens, while Sam is on a mission, we find out that they've given the shield to John Walker, an Afghanistan or Middle East war veteran. He has multiple awards. He has a Medal of Honor for going above and beyond. And here's what they're complaining about. I'm going to condense the entire thing. Ultimately, John goes too far. It's very reminiscent of Captain America Civil War. In that one, we saw Cap using his shield ultimately simply to disable the reactor on Tony's suit, because we know after Iron Man 3, he doesn't actually need that to live, it's just powering the suit. In the scene with John Walker, he kills. And he doesn't even kill the person who he's going to say deserved him. In that episode, they strip him of the title of Captain America, they strip him of his rank and his ability to be, they discharge him, and so on. This is not turning a war veteran into a villain. Because what they're leaving out is something that we have to go all the way back to Captain America the First Avenger and listen to Abraham Erskine. The serum amplifies everything about the person. Someone who is good will become better. Someone who is not good will become worse. They're in no way saying Walker was bad, but Walker was all too human. Steve had lived his entire life weak, bullied, wanting to do far more than he physically could. So mentally, where he was when the serum was given to him was a place of, I want to serve. John took the serum without authorization. It wasn't the pure serum from Erskine. It was derived from a sample of blood that we believe was Captain America's, although it could have been Bucky's or even Isaiah's, as we find out in the series. And those things all together, he had already been just swarmed with accolades from his time in the military in the Middle East. He had already been praised for his thinking and ability to judge and act. All of these things are going to affect someone mentally. I know people who did things in fire service, and when they start receiving accolades and praise for them, that does change how they think. And the vast majority, well, it changes them for a short time, and then they realize, I was just doing my job. But none of them ever got a super soldier serum that just amplifies all that about them. Add to this, when fighting people who have had the super soldier serum as well, one of them kills Lamar, Walker's best friend, accidentally by a simple kick that knocks him into a pillar. You watch your best friend die in front of you. Mentally, you're not going to be there. You are going to be running on adrenaline and emotions. Walker is not perfect. Rogers was not perfect. But Rogers got the serum from the man who developed it. Chosen by that man because he saw something in Steve that he had never seen in another person on this planet. Walker, had he received this serum as a much younger man prior to entering the service, he would not have been the person he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Because he would never have had to fight as hard because, like Steve in First Avenger and beyond, it would have come so much more easily and naturally to him. Walker may have turned out to be very much like Steve Rogers, but because of all of the instances in his life, not growing up the way Steve did, going into the military, earning the rank of captain, receiving the accolades and awards that he did for his actions and his service. When you get the super soldier serum after having served, and we know the serum does change your entire physiology. I don't know a person alive today, I don't know anyone that I've ever known or read about that is a real person, save Christ himself, who could take something like that and not have it change them, and then not react based on emotion and adrenaline after watching your best friend die. I couldn't. So this is just another instance of what I believe people speaking out on a subject they don't know about. The New York Post could have done something very, very wise. Contact the comic book nerd community. I'm an outlier on that. I read comic books as a kid and teen, then I started working and earning money, and I had credit cards, I had pagers, I had cell phones, I had cars, I had bills, and I just got too busy. Started reading them again in my late 20s while I was going back to school, really picked them up again. I love them. But look at someone like Kevin Smith. Pretty much the comic book nerd of this entire era of human history. A man invited to set for Star Wars or Marvel or DC movies. Because, quite frankly, the only people who know more about that story that's being told are the people who wrote it, the original writers. And in many cases, they're not even around anymore. They could have easily talked to Kevin and asked him about the John Walker transition from Cap to taking the serum to the incident after Lamar's death, and so on through the series. They could have easily waited for this article until today, after the final episode of this series, because that would have changed the entire tone of their article had they waited a couple of days and watched the final episode. Anyway, I've talked long enough. What do you think? Comic book nerds, tell me what you think. What do you think about Walker, pre and post serum, as U.S. agent? What do you think about, I'm just going to call her Val, mostly because the character hates it and I don't want to give anything away. What do you think about the Val arc? What do you think about the Agent Carter arc? There's a lot to discuss about this entire series. And like I said, I've read the comic books, the different versions of this story. It's a lot like when Doctor Strange came out, when the Punisher series rebooted with Bernthal, pretty much the only ones I didn't have to go back for, Cap and Iron Man. A little bit of Thor. But I went back and I read, I'm like, okay, which one are they coming from? And then I found out that both Cumberbatch and Bernthal looked up and read the story arcs, the actual comic book series their movie or series was based on. Those are the ones I read. That movie and that series, greatly recommend it. Don't so much recommend subscribing to services that are run by people who don't agree with conservative beliefs, and I'm cutting a lot of those myself. But those are very well done if you have the service and want to watch something. Anyway, I want to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Walker arc, the Val arc, the Carter arc, Sam Wilson, Bucky? How is this series comparing to everything else we've gotten from the MCU? As always, be civil in the discussion. We're here to discuss the set and debate, not scream and yell like toddlers told ice cream is not a breakfast food. That said, everyone have a wonderful day, great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you next time.